Hello, everybody. This is your boy, Lex Noel here, and welcome back to episode 1 of the Lex Factor Show. Because last time on my YouTube channel, that was a pilot episode. But now, this is official episode 1 of the Lex Factor Show. So, joining me is my good friend from Twitter, is my good friend, John.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I couldn't pronounce your last name, sorry.
No, that's fine. Flickinger.
Yeah. And last but not least, our awesome celebrity friend. Yes, she's back once again, and she's on location at a Spirit Halloween. Give it up for Miss Vanya Marinkovic. Sorry.
Thank you. And by the way, for women, this is super cheap right now because, lipstick's hardly needed nowadays. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And as y'all can see, I'm dressed up as Luke Cage. So
Yeah!
So I told y'all if y'all want to dress up, y'all can because it's Halloween. So, is everybody ready to talk about today's topic?
Yep.
All right. Yes, factoids. We're going to be talking about 80s horror. Since some of us are children of the 80s because we've seen a lot of 80s movies. And so, I'd like to start off with this. So, John, tell me, what movie that made you a fan of 80s horror? Okay, got you into 80s horror.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, I like the classic movies like Nightmare on Elm Street and, Friday the 13th and Halloween and that kind of stuff. But the first Hellraiser was the one that really kind of hooked me in. No pun intended. It was on cable when I was probably a little bit too young to watch it. And I didn't know what it was because I missed the first 15 or 20 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. But with the effects and everything just blew my mind. And they still do to this day, to be honest.
Nice. And same question to you, Vanya. It looks like we lost her.
Oh, no, I got it. Wait. Zoom? Hello?
Yeah, we can still
Okay, there I am. Sorry. Yeah, I could say that from the early days that, well, like John is saying, we're a little too young. Some of these movies scared the heck out of us. We enjoyed Poltergeist immensely. It was very scary. I think that was early 80s. But the fact of the matter that some of these people died after the horror movie, like the little girl from Poltergeist died later on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought, oh my God, that's a curse because there's something, but that's BS, right? But yeah, that scared us, like getting sucked into the TV. And, I love Friday the 13th and, Nightmare on Elm Street, being stuck in the nightmares and all that. It was all good stuff, We liked how Friday the 13th, a lot as the movies progressed and got more sexual, that they would always kill the teenagers during, what.
Yeah, I'm like, why do y'all go to a haunted cabin to do the dirt and to do the what, knowing that there's a serial killer out there? I'm like, can y'all do that at your houses or something?
Yeah, and as an audience, you always knew when they were going to die because it's like anytime that one of those scenes kind of started and it started to get a little bit hot, you kind of knew they're going to die.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, it's predictable, but it's good that it's predictable in a way because it's like you don't know how they're going to die, and that's what made it interesting.
And you want to know what's embarrassing about getting hacked off by a hockey mask killer being killed in your underwear? I'm like, that's embarrassing. Like,
Yeah, that'd be really embarrassing to be caught dead with a knife through you and your partner, kind of a weird way to die, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, also, you want to know what was the very first horror movie that I watched with my parents?
What's that?
Yeah, it's a horror/sci-fi movie, and it's called Invaders from Mars. Y'all seen
Oh
that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because
Definitely.
go ahead. Yeah, 'cause-
One of the worst ones, I think, predates 80s. Lizzie Borden. Now, to this day, I can't stand axes. I am so scared of axes. She would get naked, hack up her family, then go take a shower. Oh, it's based on a true story. Oh, sorry, 80s. I think that was late 70s they did that.
yeah,
Watch.
and also, so let me ask you this, John. Did you like the sequels to the Hellraiser series?
Yeah, they're good. I think it gets a little more off the rails kind of the further out you get, and it gets more and more kind of like far from the concept that they started with, but they're still pretty good and they're still pretty watchable. They're kind of interesting. I think the third or fourth one had like an artist, and that was kind of interesting. They keep adding more lore to like the Cenobites and where they came from and just why they're here and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, the real far ones though, like the later ones where there's like the internet and they're like summoning the Cenobites through the internet, it kind of jumps the shark a bit, but it's still kind of fun to watch as a bad movie in my opinion. Like it's a good popcorn flick.
Yeah,
Definitely agree.
yeah, and also please, if y'all watching this, I advise you, please watch In Search of Darkness, because that is a good documentary right there. I had to back it up, and surprise, surprise, at the ending credits, you see my name. I'm immortalized.
Awesome.
Yeah, and speaking of 80s movies, so what do y'all think of the Freddy Krueger series? What do y'all think about that?
Love it. Love his makeup. Love how he acts. I mean, but as a kid, we were huge fans. I just, whenever someone wear that costume, it blew our socks off. Love it. I always look forward to the next film of his. Always.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I like the creativity of it too. Just, you know, all the dreams were different, all the ways the kids died were different. Like there's a lot of slasher films where, you know, Jason kills a ton of people with a machete, that's fine. But like with Freddy, you really have no idea. Like if someone falls asleep, you just don't know how they're gonna die. And like some of the effects, especially the ones where you don't see them die in the dream, but like in real life, like the kid that fell on the bed of spikes, you see holes come through his shirt. And it's just amazing the way they did that stuff back then.
yeah,
Yeah. Definitely agree. It was ahead of its time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know what freaked me out? I think it was the first one where he spread out his whole arm. Y'all was like,
Oh yeah, in the alley? That was crazy.
yeah. Yeah, and funny fact that I enjoy Robert Englund's, everybody knows him as Freddy Krueger, but he did some small parts in sitcoms, like you see him as this one person in Night Court. Yeah, you see him in Night Court. You remember that old 80s TV show, Night Court?
Oh yeah, that's range.
And he played the devil on Married with Children.
Oh.
I was like, what? I know him. That's Robert Englund.
Nice.
And I'm still jealous at my friends that they got pictures taken with him at the Texas Frightmare. I always wanted to go there because I always wanted to meet Kane Hodder, Robert Englund. I was like, I just didn't have no way to get there.
He's still alive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Love
And-
it.
Yeah. If John and Vanya, if y'all in Texas one day, y'all should come to if y'all come visit the Texas, you should come check out Texas Frightmare, because last time Marilyn Manson was there, and yes, and also you want to know who I met over there?
Who?
I met the Candyman himself,
Oh my God!
Tony.
I love him.
I met Tony Todd.
Candyman. Dare me to do it in a sort of mirror? Wait, Candyman. Does that count? Sort of. No, just a glass reflection.
We'll find out if Kurtz comes.
Yeah, but yeah, I know that he's a '90s movie.
Yeah.
But I was so happy to have met him because he does have that haunting voice. I was like, ooh.
Oh my gosh, yeah. His voice is amazing.
Oh yeah. And
shout out to Virginia Madsen, beautiful lady, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Vanya, tell me this: are there any other movie '80s horror that you just can't that you just love to watch over and over and over?
Me?
Yeah.
Let's see. I also like the spoof ones. Did you see any of those? I think Eddie Murphy did a spoof about vampires.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a little. That wasn't one of his best, but when you get a comedy, it takes it to another level. And they're usually not scary, but remember, this predates scary movies.
Yeah.
Scary movies by the Wayans brothers. So they stand on the shoulders of the people before them. And so anything that could be funny, incorporate that is also a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that caused nightmares, I think, is the older stuff because it was freaky. I would call the 70s, I was born in the 70s, it was like a freaky decade.
Yeah.
Because the movies are just left field. The sci-fi movies, the horror movies. So the 80s, we were scared of some stuff. Besides Poltergeist for the early kind of molding, Slaughterhouse happened a little later with Rob Zombie. That was a little more 90s, when he came out. But I love Jason, and because all my friends usually dressed up like him. And I think even though that's just, it's kind of your bare bones of horror movies, what Jason did is he's one of the pioneers.
Yeah.
And fans of him. Of Halloween, right? A little bit. He did some bare bones, right?
Right.
As far as the concept, the hockey, stick, his mask, you never knew what was behind it, So I'm a fan.
Yeah, and you want to know what's amazing? Like on the very first Friday the 13th, like who's killing all these camp counselors? But y'all see that it was his mother. I'm like,
yeah,
it was the mother of Jason Voorhees. I was like,
mother. There's always has to be the homage to it, right?
No, I think the movie you're thinking about is what was that movie called?
Norman Bates Hotel, Psycho, but that's old.
Yeah,
Psycho's.
I think.
But they redid it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They redid. Oh, Amityville Horror. There we go. For early 80s. That was scary as anything. I mean, I think I started to fear death from that film because do you remember? You know what a forerunner is, right? A forerunner, I think, it foreshadows death. And so, even though they're saying a lot of the Amityville Horror now was, there's a great debate whether it was a hoax, whether it was real, and those new movies they do are based off of Amityville Horror, the ones with those. Yeah, but Amityville Horror was really scary, and that's probably a staple of the early 80s.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of early 80s, you want to know what else is my mother's personal favorite?
What?
The very first Exorcist movie.
The first what?
Exorcist.
Oh yeah. That was the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So John, have you seen the very first Exorcist when you was young?
Yeah, it's been a while, but I wasn't too young when I saw it. At least I think I was in college when I saw it the first time.
Yeah. So, what did you think of The Exorcist?
It's another one where I just appreciate movies that have really good effects, and especially practical effects like back then, because there's something with like your brain where if you see CG or something like that, you know it's not real on some level.
Yeah.
But like when they do the practical stuff and like her head spins around, that is insane. And that's the stuff that really messed with me. And those are the visions that like really stick with you after the movie, where, you know, even years later, I could still picture it just like the first time, you know?
Yeah, but everybody gets freaked out when that little girl did the spider walk.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
The spider walk, vomiting on the priest, like all that stuff, man. Like those are images you cannot unsee. Like you see them there with you.
Yeah, so, and same question to you, Vanya. What did you think of The Exorcist?
To me, that marked a new era in film, because before that, we weren't seeing too many like demonic type, horror movies. Not that I remember, but that one was scary. It made you scared to throw up. That's when I got introduced to projectile vomit. And as a writer, I love dealing with projectile vomit. That's one of my favorite subjects. And, because she threw up, like you guys mentioned, all over the priest. And it was scary.
Yeah.
Just that can happen, that you think that can happen.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that to happen.
Yeah.
So, and of course you get I don't know if you guys are overly religious, but people that are really religious, very offended by that film.
Oh, yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, but I know. Yeah, I like the first Exorcist, but the second one, was weird, but it was okay to me because you see a very young James Earl Jones on that movie. I was like, wow.
I love James Earl Jones. Love him.
Yeah, and also, have y'all ever heard of this movie called Critters?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was another '80s movie that I still remember watching with my family. Yeah, you ever heard of that movie, Vanya? Critters?
Which one? Critters?
Yeah.
I think so.
About these little monsters that forms up into a ball and chases after you.
Yes. Yeah. I wish we could almost roll in a clip, because that one, it's not like Gremlins, right?
No.
But like the ball rolls over you and they eat you like piranhas, kind of.
Yeah.
That's not a good way to go. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and also, my other favorite movie from the '80s is called Ghoulies.
Which one?
Ghoulies.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I think I seen the second one where the Ghoulies was terrorizing this circus amusement park. Yeah. Like there's this one ghoulie where it killed a person while he was on a toilet. I was like, and that made me fear, like not to go in the bathroom at night when I was young. Yeah.
We also got to think of, even though I'm not a huge fan, it had a staple and a genre to it, Beetlejuice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more later 80s, I think. Later 80s.
Yeah.
But it created kind of a staple, and it was more of a comedy.
Yeah, it was a horror comedy.
Yeah, horror comedy.
Yeah.
And everything. Tales from the Crypt.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but here's the thing. I like Tales from the Crypt first movie. I had a demon. It was funny and cool.
Yeah, it's amazing how many of these 80s movies influenced more movies for decades and decades afterwards. I mean, they're all like templates that other ones came from.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you'd dive in.
Yeah. And also, I do still appreciate the 80's movie, 80's horror movies that I love to watch, and also, John and Ryan, have you ever heard of this movie called Phantasm?
Yes. With the killer balls?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The first one is awesome, and I'm happy to find it on Blu-ray because, yeah, yeah. It's a shame that the tall man never became a household name because he's been overshadowed by Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy.
Sometimes people aren't appreciated. You know, like they're ahead of their time and people don't get it. So,
Yeah. Oh, what? So, John, and well, this question goes to you, John. What is your personal favorite zombie movie?
Oh God.
It can be anyone. It can be anyone.
I know there's so many though.
Yeah. Well, just name some on the top of your head. You know.
Well, I mean, Night of the Living Dead, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
I keep coming back to it, so I have to. That's my choice, I think.
Yeah. Same. Oh, you got more?
No, I mean, there's like I like DayZ. That's not really 80's, but still, just the whole idea of like relentless mobs of zombies.
Yeah. And same question to you, Vanya. What is your personal favorite zombie movie?
Night of the Living Dead, I know that's a little bit older. It was a staple. But then you've got a lot of, you know, the ones after that also were really awesome. Zombie Apocalypse, that's a little more new. They also had stripper zombies. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
The stripper zombie one?
Yeah.
That was great. What about you? What's your favorite zombie movie?
Yes, Night of the Living Dead, and I think that. Yeah, I think that's all I can name too. But
We'll get out of here. It's a little noisy.
yeah, and here's a movie. Here is another 80's horror movie. Have y'all seen The Thing?
Yes, where they all turn on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh my goodness, the effects and images of that movie, it's still buried in my mind. You know, ooh. Remember that one scene with the guy with the defibrillator? Oh, sheesh.
That did not go the way he thought it would.
Yeah, and that ending though, like who's infected? Like who's infected? Oh my goodness! But also, yeah, that that was the movie that I saw, but I didn't know that what's his name? Kurt Russell was on it. I didn't know he was on it. I was like, wow.
Yeah, amazing actor.
Yeah.
Everything he does is convincing. Everything.
But the movie, my all-time favorite movie with Kurt Russell, it will always have to be Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I somewhat recommended that.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to have the Blu-ray copy of it because I can see all of the deleted scenes of it. Until this day, they're still making comics of it. So, yeah. So, also, who remembers an American Werewolf in London?
Yeah, that's more of a comedy too, right?
Yeah, but it has some scary images.
Yeah, it definitely does. You know, sometimes those comedies are the scariest ones. I mean, even because that was, you know, they didn't do one like that before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, and also, and yes, some of my friends took me down to see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house.
Oh, see, I'm also scared of chainsaws, not just axes, but chainsaws. I don't want to operate one. I don't want to operate an axe. But yeah, that one, I almost didn't. I was too scared of it.
Yeah. So John, what do you, have you seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? If you did, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, it was scary. Well, the first one is scary, and then the second one they added more like humor and tried to like vary it a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me how many movies in the 80s are like that too, where they just have like kind of these horror comedies.
Yeah.
I mean, we have horror comedies outside of there. There's things like Shaun of the Dead and stuff like that, but like they really tried to make them scary and funny equally. Whereas now they seem to be a little bit more funny and a little less scary.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, yeah. Stuff like I remember with my mom, we used to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space a lot when I was little.
Oh.
And like that's some really disturbing imagery for a kid, you know, where like they're cocooned in cotton candy and it's funny, but they're also like bloody and dead, you know, and like killing them with like acidic pies and just all this other weird goofy stuff. And just the clowns look creepy. Yeah. I mean, you know, 80 or not, like that was cool looking, you know, for a costume.
Yeah. And speaking of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, there is this one movie that I just love to watch with my friends. And have y'all ever seen, right here on my poster, have y'all seen, oh yes, Night of the Demons. That's one of my favorites.
Nice. How about Children of the Corn?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Outlander, we have your woman.
Reminds me a little of Lord of the Flies in its concept of kids taking control and wait. Hello? Am I still on? It just gave me a pop-up that the Zoom no longer has a time limit. Oh, thank you, Zoom. Woo!
Oh, you're still on. You're still on.
Yeah, Children of the Corn did have like a Midwestern Lord of the Flies vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Lord of the Flies you're mentioning?
Yeah, Children of the Corn, just the way like the kids are taking over everything. And Scary Kids is an interesting concept because when I saw that, I was a kid, but now as an adult, it's like a whole different movie.
Yeah, it is. Oh my goodness. And what else? Yeah. Oh. Here's this one movie that I like to watch with my dad. Have you ever seen a movie called Monster Squad?
Yes. Loved it as a kid.
Which one?
Monster Squad.
Lost what? Sorry.
No. Have you ever seen a movie called Monster Squad?
Yeah, moment. Well, explain it. Yeah, I probably did.
No, it's about these group of kids that all these horror monsters are coming to life, like the Wolfman, Dracula, and they're friends with Frankenstein. Oh, like
the creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah, they all come back.
Yeah.
Oh, like everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. You should.
That's classic.
I was gonna say, and Vanya, if you do see it out there at your favorite DVD store or thrift store, please pick it up because it is a good watch.
It's fun too.
Yeah.
It's funny how these things from the 80s, like there's a lot of horror movies, but they're still like marketing them to kids, where there's like, you know, toys and video games and stuff for like Nightmare on Elm Street. There's like a Nintendo game for Friday the 13th. Like it's so weird because now I can't imagine that kind of stuff being pitched to kids. Parents would go nuts, you know, they would be upset.
We're in a different world now. Chucky. There we go. Child's Play.
Oh, yeah.
Another freaky one, you know? But yeah, you're right. You don't see as much marketing for horror movies now for kids. But at the time, we had a less politically correct environment, you know?
Yeah.
It's both good and bad. Being politically correct has its pros and cons.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, I don't think that watching films like that as a kid is going to make you grow up and do that stuff. That has to do with child abuse and stuff, you know, when kids grow up and do bad things. It's not from watching horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your kid becomes a serial killer, that's not a movie's fault. There's a lot more. There's way more at play.
Yeah. Remember those kids that killed themselves? Well, you guys are probably a little younger than me, but they blamed it on Judas Priest's music. And I'm like, no, it wasn't Judas Priest that made them commit suicide. They had trouble, some stuff going on. But we're not talking about 80s music now. You've got another thing coming. You've got another thing coming.
Yeah. Oh. Have y'all seen Reanimator?
No.
Which one?
It is on my list though.
I was saying,
Oh,
like,
my list.
have you seen Reanimator?
No.
Yeah, it's about Jeffrey Combs' character created this serum that brings dead people back to life.
That sounds wicked.
Yeah, and it is a freaky movie also because Jeffrey Combs is a cool actor, but yeah, that movie, oof. And also, have y'all seen Return of the Living Dead? Have y'all seen that movie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like the day, the subsequent ones, and more recent they did Shaun of the Dead. Like where some movie did something different for Zombieville, but the recent fascination with zombies has been transcending. I think it's people trying to come to terms with death. It's a society that doesn't understand it because we're less spiritual than we used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that movie right there, you will see the legendary Tar Man zombie. Because he's a disturbing character. But yeah, it's amazing that the zombies came back to life because of a toxic rain. I mean, acid rain. I think that's what happened. Yeah. But
Well, a little older, special mentions to Carrie, right?
Yeah.
Big blood, bleh. That's always scary. That actress is scary. You didn't see Carrie? I know they redid it.
Yeah.
They
Well,
redid
there's so many
Carrie.
Stephen King like movies and miniseries in the 80s that came out.
yeah.
Oh, Stephen King. Love him. That's a whole subject unto itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Pet Cemetery. To this day, there's something scary about your animal dying and possibly coming back. And then why you buy a house next to a huge ass highway with trucks that keep killing your pet, then it kills your little boy, and then your wife gets killed. Why? Why would you buy a house right next to a huge highway with a bunch of semis coming through it and an Indian burial ground nearby?
It's cheap because that probably happened to the family before you.
Right?
But yeah, there's not a lot of good decision making on a lot of these movies too.
Yeah.
They don't think things through.
Yeah. You have to know something? Every time when I watch horror movies with my friend, every time when we hear that creepy music, it's like if y'all hear creepy music, don't go down to the basement. It's not a radio playing. Just go. Go.
Yeah. The music's foreshadowing something's gonna. But you know what I don't like? A lot of the horror movies now rely on those, what are they called, jump scares?
Yeah.
I think it's a cheap shot. Like they just, your heart kind of stops, and it's like, really pick up a script, write something, because I don't need my heart to stop every other 2 minutes because you're relying on cheap thrills. That makes me mad, actually.
Well, that's funny. Like back then, they didn't have all the CG and technology we have now. So if they wanted effects, they had to actually make them. And so, director says, we changed the script, and this guy's head has to blow off and some monster's going to come out of him or something. And they were just like, okay. And they figured it out and they made it work. Whereas now they could do all that stuff on a computer, no problem. Yeah. And all we get are like rehashes of things that have come out already, or something that's like an homage to something that we already saw, like, a lot of these things that we're referring to. Like I just watched a movie called Hell House LLC, which is kind of like Amityville, pretty much. It's not as good, but it's the same kind of concept. But we have all this potential to make better movies now, and they aren't doing it. Instead, they're just bringing out the same old things over and over again and relying on cheap jump scares and stuff like that.
I know, it's pretty sad.
People have lost the ability to write. I mean, that's part of it, or not faith enough to write. Writing I read one article comparing writing to bricklaying. It's not as easy as everybody thinks. It's
Yeah.
hard work. You got to sit your butt down and you got to write. But yeah, no, we don't have CGI like John mentioned, and
Yeah.
so now they could try to create the creepiest imagery possible, and that's what they're relying on. It's a society full of, I don't know, like we're almost fake in a way, we're
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, and yeah. Also, here's this one horror movie that I always like to watch with my folks. Have you seen the one with have you seen Friday the 13th Part 7 where he went against that teenager who has psychic powers? Have you seen that one?
A long time ago, but yeah.
He has psychic powers?
Yeah. Jason went against this teenager who has psychic powers, and I was like, it's like, yeah, just like what people says in this day. It's like Jason versus Carrie.
But again, that's another concept that's really creative and really interesting, and it makes for an interesting watch. It's not just like the same thing over and over and over again. It's a very interesting new dynamic they created for that one.
Right. And here's this one underrated horror movie that I like. Yeah, some people seen it, a lot of people didn't, but it's called House. Have you seen that one?
I don't think so.
Which one?
House. It's starring William Catt.
Yeah, The House. It's like the house is the plot, right?
Yeah. It's like, it's about William Catt's character. Like, he's a war veteran, but he has a PTSD. And he's been trying to write this book, but all of a sudden, all these weird and scary stuff keeps happening at this house that he just bought.
Oh, yes, I did see that. That was good. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Like, he opened up a closet and all of a sudden a giant monster comes out at him.
Hey, how about Anaconda with Jennifer Lopez and Ice Cube? That was kind of freaky, but I guess it's not your traditional horror movie, right? It's more of a thrill. Like,
but it was made in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
It was still another kind of out of the box type of thing, like it wasn't like another Jaws or something like that. Like it was a whole kind of like same kind of genre, but like a different movie altogether.
Yeah, definitely. I have a special mention to Richard Dreyfuss, and I know a lot of his stuff was late 70s, but Jaws, and which they made a second and the third, which probably went into the 80s. But there's that actor's great. And no matter what he tackles, he can convey what the film needs. Because even Close Encounters of the Third Kind was kind of scary for a science fiction film. As a kid, it was scary. Okay, so I know because there are sometimes the genre has met, and the 80s was the perfect time, early 80s, that tried to cross the genre of sci-fi meets horror. As far as trying to get example.
Yeah.
Alien.
But like you mentioned, the clowns from outer space.
Yeah.
Killer clowns from outer space. It didn't have the best effects in the world. It didn't have the best script, but the concept, the innovation, there we have it. How many people try to do something like that now?
None.
You don't take risks anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of it, have y'all seen that movie, the original It? What y'all think of that?
Oh yeah, creepy. Totally creepy.
Which one?
The original It.
Oh my God, yeah, the original was scary. Yes, like definitely. And that one had Kevin Bacon, right? It all goes back to him. Is that what it is? Yeah.
60s, yeah.
Yeah, that was scary. Whereas the new one, yes, it had a great way of presenting stuff, but the original It was like blows you away. So definitely it was a lot. I read the book too. And he has a different way of writing, Stephen King kind of goes on tangents a little bit.
Yeah, and yeah. The first and second Emeryville horror movies, yeah, it scared me, but later down the road, all those sequels, it just made me do this, like all of a sudden a haunted lamp. I'm like, what?
They'll just keep milking things until they aren't profitable anymore. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah. Well, as one coworker put it to me, anything for a buck.
yeah.
That's the bottom line, is money and dollars. And that's why all these Marvel films, they can, they have an insured audience. I'm not trying to knock Marvel. There's some great stuff with Marvel, some less, but another one that kind of crosses it that's scary is the Tommy Knockers. And then also the Storm of the Century. I'm naming more Stephen King films. I know he hasn't done as much lately, but his 80s stuff. And you know how he always made an appearance, kind of the way that M. Night Shyamalan in the 90s made an appearance. He was 90s. So Stephen King always had a little cameo in his horror films. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, like I think it was like Tales from the Dark Side or Creep Show. Yeah, I think Creep Show.
He was in Creep Show.
He appeared in Pet Cemetery.
Yeah. Yeah, have you seen that movie Creep Show? The first one was good.
Yeah, I like anthology movies with a couple short stories. They're fun.
Oh yeah.
He
had some great short stories.
Yeah. Yeah, like that. Yeah, like that last segment with it's called The Hitchhiker. Yeah, you see Stephen King as an 18-wheeler driver. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
The Shining.
Yeah.
That was very, I think, 80, 81. The Shining.
That was
what?
That was incredible. And I think the movie and there was a mini series, but that might have been 90s. I'm not sure. It was either late 80s or early 90s. There was like a TV version.
They did a mini series out of The Shining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, it was like early 90s. I think early to mid 90s of the mini series.
I think The Shining was unusual because it had issues like child abuse, domestic violence, alcoholism, and it did these things that were actually really, very strong subjects. But it was horrific too because that movie, there's not a lot, definitely that the writing was something else. And it starts spinning out of control toward the end, like with the maze, with how he's sinking into his mental illness and alcoholism. There was something, Shining, it's a long movie, but it's something that hasn't been redone well. They did do what's it called, a sequel to it called very new, but I forgot the name of the new one. But The Shining is, I would almost love to redo a film kind of like that one day, using the concept of The Shining. Everything in it. Everything foreshadowed something really eerie.
Yeah.
The actors were amazing. Everything was so scary about that film.
Oh, and it's cool that they got Scatman Crothers to be on that movie.
Yes, Scatman Brothers, awesome actor, and he had the ability. He was such an amazing actor.
Yeah, definitely.
And in fact, I think he's the first one that brought the scary in that film. When he's talking to the little boy, and the little boy sees that he's psychic, and he brought the scary. It's almost like the movie actually started when he connected with the boy.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
So John, what did you think about The Shining? What did you think?
It's a special kind of fear because it's a plausible fear. It's not like killer clowns or something like that. Like I know killer clowns are not going to come down, like that's not going to happen. But if you're, that like abusive alcoholic people exist, and it's scary in that regard, like it's relatable in a way. Because whether you've met somebody personally or you just, know somebody who's been affected by someone like that, like it's really scary dealing with people who are unstable. and it almost hits like in your core because it's real, you know. It's like a different kind of thing. Like I did like all the supernatural aspects of it, like the bartender, like that whole scene was just creepy, just in how like surreal it was, because it's felt so detached. And it's like, you know, you're watching this movie, but then at the same time, you know, it's almost like, you know, you're taking a step back and seeing just how this character is descending into madness. And,
and
there's so much to it.
Yeah, and especially that ending, like after he died from being frozen to death, and all of a sudden you see a picture of him. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, what?
That was creepy. That was creepy. And I read about that. Being frozen to death is one of the worst deaths you can have. I actually read about the processes the body goes through. You don't want these. I will say it in the what's it called? The not Bruno Borat's accent. You don't want these. It was terrible.
Yeah. So, oh yeah. So are you all having fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Woo!
but I was gonna say this. Next Saturday, you want to do this again, where we talk about more, because I want to get to the funny side of 80s horror.
I'd like to.
Oh, for funny stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me get back to you right after the show. I don't think I have anything next weekend, but I'll definitely get back to you, say a couple hours after the show, just to confirm. Would it be around the same time?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. 2 p.m. your time. Will it be 3 p.m. for us?
It'll actually be the 31st. I think, whoa, that was loud. Someone's got their motorcycle. Woo!
Yeah.
That's what a good horror movie, murder cycle.
Murder cycle. Well, we did had a. I was gonna say, well, we did had an 18-wheeler killer movie, so. So before we go, John, do you have any shameless plugs or anything?
No, not really.
All right.
I'm good.
All right. Well, Vanya, you have any shameless plugs or anything you want to tell everybody?
Shameless plugs he meant? Yeah, I'm in La Bufadora now. It's gonna be a while for it to come out, but a nice surreal type Western film being shot in Arizona. And just wonderful producers. I know Lex has seen the pictures on Facebook. You can find me, Vanya Marinkovic, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Shameless plugs! Woo!
I wish I was back in Arizona, because I used to live out there. I want to be in the picture. So, well, Factoids, I hope you're enjoying episode 1.
Oh, and next time I'll bring the Bluetooth for the location, and that way you don't pick out outside sounds, just my vocals.
All right, well, yeah, if you want to be on location, it's cool, but I'm just saying, location or at your home is up to you, all right?
Yeah. It was nice to meet John.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Very well.
Thank you for having me, Lex.
Of course, because you're our favorite guest here, just like John. Because next time we're gonna be talking about the funny side of 80s horror, because I have plenty, because I like to show y'all next time. So other than that, thank you for being here, John and Vanya, and as always, until then, Factoids is your boy, Lex the X-Man. Lex
Happy Halloween! All right.
Take care, everybody.
See you later.
Bye.